What's up YouTube, Jeff back again from DopeTechDaily.com, and today I'm bringing you guys a video on the Xiaomi Mi 6 just to follow up on some comments that were made in my top 5 Android phones video. I got the Mi 6 about 7 weeks ago, almost 2 months. I got this while I was on vacation getting married. It got shipped to me in Pittsburgh. Did an unboxing. I'll drop the link below if you guys want to check it out. I did use the phone substantially. A lot of people on my top 5 Android phones video asked why the Mi 6 did not make the top 5. So I want to talk a little bit about this phone and give you some of the reasons that kept it out of the top 5 and also tell you some of the things that I like. Now, the first reason that it didn't make my top 5 should be an obvious one, but most people don't think about it, and that is that the Mi 6 does not have the proper LTE bands to use here in the US. I'm based in the US, so when I review phones, I'm using the LTE bands on the US carriers. I have a SIM from Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T, so I have a variety of options, but I can't use the phone properly if I don't get LTE. I got HSPA, and I got 3G most places when I was using it, but that doesn't give me an accurate battery life picture when compared to other phones. That's the first reason, is that I can't really use it as a daily driver like I do my other phones because of the lack of LTE. Even though I used it, it's not really a fair comparison. The second thing, and the really big reason that this would not be in my top 5, even if I was doing this for an international audience where they could get LTE, is the software. MIUI, which is Xiaomi's software, is just still very stale, very boring and outdated. It's missing a lot of features. You can see right here, I'm running the most up-to-date version of MIUI, the global 8.2 stable version. It's based off of a 7.1.1 build, Android Nougat. However, it's missing a lot of Android 7.1.1 features like bundled notifications. The notifications themselves are just a huge mess on this particular phone. If you look, the notifications are separate from the settings, the quick settings, which I find super annoying. Also, you have to swipe over to the quick settings to get in the main settings menu there, which is annoying. And it's also missing dual window. So it's missing dual window, which is another Nougat feature that's built into Android. Why they decide to remove bundled notifications and dual window, which is two features that I like to use quite a bit, I have no idea. And the settings themselves are just a huge mess. There's a lot of battery optimization that Xiaomi still does that's really annoying. The way they separate some of the settings for the battery and embed some things like the notification settings that you see on the lock screen, etc. Just things that I want to turn on by default, Xiaomi turns off, and then you have to go in and enable them. Most people who are regular users are not even going to pay attention to that. In my opinion, the software is super annoying. They keep all the apps on the home screen. There's no app drawer. That's easily fixed. I run Action Launcher 3 on here, and that part's fine. But the settings, notifications, all those other things I mentioned, and also just the look of the settings, it just looks outdated compared to the other software that you see in Android, even if you compare it to Samsung and LG. A couple other small complaints. The fingerprint scanner on here, even though it's on the front, it's not nearly as good as most of the other front-mounted scanners. The OnePlus 5 blows this thing away. It's also recessed so far into the phone that most of the time you try to find it when you register your thumb, it's kind of hard to actually get the sensor completely covered up, and that makes it difficult to get the scan. I've had a lot of false reads with this particular fingerprint scanner. That's just a small gripe, but it is something worth pointing out. The next thing that I will say is that the build of the phone is fantastic. So as I was just showing you guys the build, it's got a nice little curve on the back of it, fits nice in the hand. It's got a fantastic weight to the phone overall. I do love the build of the phone, and I have no complaints with that. The jet black looks very similar to the iPhone 7 Plus, which I showed in my unboxing video. The build quality is fantastic. The one thing that I don't like about the build is what's missing from the phone. As you look on the bottom and also on the top, you notice there's no headphone jack. And I also ding the HTC U11 for removing the headphone jack as well. It's just not something that I particularly like. I don't like having the headphone jack removed. It's it's going to happen more and more because Apple did it, but it's still a decision that I have a problem with. Otherwise, the performance on here is fantastic. I mean, 6 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 835. It plays games like a champ. Even though the software itself has a lot of little quirks to it, it's mostly smooth. It's not nearly as smooth as something like the Pixel or the OnePlus 5, though, because those don't have as much junk running on top of them as Xiaomi does with this phone. The camera on this phone is good. I have no complaints with it. It's definitely not in the elite class. I took quite a few photos with this phone. I got one of the XE Premium. I used the dual camera to take some zoomed in shots there. See if my Air Jordan pendant. Took quite a few outdoor shots in Pittsburgh, like this one. They have a little watermark that's on there by default, which I don't really like. You have to turn that off. That's just another example of Xiaomi enabling things that then you've got to go back and unenable later. But the camera, you can see it there as well. It's in the corner. I didn't turn it off yet. And that's just something, again, that, you know, the camera is great, and I don't have a problem with the dual camera. It's probably on par with the OnePlus 5 in the camera department, but those little quirks with the software is something that's annoying. Screen on the phone is fine. It's not the best 1080p display that I've ever seen, but the viewing angles are fine. The brightness is pretty good. For an LCD screen, it's probably middle of the road, not quite as good as the LG G6. The one thing about the Mi 6 is the price. The price is right on this phone. So if you can stand the software issues, if you're in a country where the LTE bands work, and perhaps you don't mind getting frustrated a little bit with the fingerprint scanner from time to time, you might not have a problem using the phone. But for me, it just doesn't make it into the top 5. There's a lot of other phones out there that do a majority of the things better, either exceed the camera in a huge way or have better software. Pretty much all the phones in my top 5 had better software. I'm also not a huge fan of capacitive buttons, but there are a couple other phones in my top 5 that have that. It'd be nice to see more people add the option for on-screen buttons if you want to do that, kind of like OnePlus 5 has as well. So those are my thoughts on the Xiaomi Mi 6. It's not a bad phone. It might make my top 10, but it's not going to make my top 5. Drop me a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the Mi 6. If you want me to do a full comparison video to the OnePlus 5, because a lot of people ask for that, drop a comment below. If we get enough interest, I will do that. Please like and subscribe if you guys enjoy this video so I can make future videos like this. I appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.